Alright everybody, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to talk about some historic US military knives from World War II that there's some misunderstanding about, there are some rumors about, there are some myths about, and I'm going to kind of try to help everybody come to an understanding of where the myths came from, why they seem relevant, and so forth. But let's cut to the chase. What we have in front of us here today are a couple of Cattaraugus 225Q knives. These are called quartermaster knives because they were designed by the Army Quartermaster Corps, right? And that's what the Q in the model number stands for. Now, a nearly identical version of this knife was also made by Case. Case made their knife, and it was marked either Case with no X's or Case with two X's, and the model number was on the backside, and it said 337 6-inch Q. Now, they're both Q knives, right? Because they were designed by the Quartermaster Corps. Now, they were designed by the Quartermaster Corps, but not necessarily exclusively for the Quartermaster Corps. So, these two knives are very good examples, right? So this knife is one that I've had for, I can't even tell you how long. I got it surplus. You can see it's a little rough. If you look at the two knives side by side, you can see the blade on this one has had a fair amount of metal taken off of it over the years to keep it sharp. I am partly responsible for that, but it came to me so dull, you would not believe it. It literally, the edge of it was flat. That's how dull this knife was. So I did a little work on it, as you can see, to put an edge back on it. And I consider this a working, carrying knife, even though, yes, it is in fact a piece of history, right? So, this knife is in far better condition as far as the metal is concerned. The blades, the handles are about the same. Here, the plastic spacers on this knife have faded. Now, normally they were a red color or a black color, normally red, and these have kind of faded out to a tan color. So let's talk about the knives just a little bit. The knife was designed to be a heavy-duty, robust knife. Now, you'll notice that in appearance, it looks pretty similar to a couple of other knives. It looks pretty similar to the RH-36 by PAL, right, in the shape and outline of the blade. The difference is the thickness of the blade. Thank you for my roosters helping me with my video. The thickness of the blade is 1/4 of an inch, and here you can see someone decided to pound on the back of this 1/4 inch, the spine of this blade, apparently with a frickin' crowbar or something crazy. Makes me want to scream, but it's a tool, right? So it's also often compared to the Mark II, the K-bar, right? Commonly referred to as a K-bar, the USN Mark II, and the USMC 1219. So the difference is these knives are more robust, okay? Like I said, thicker spine, thicker blade, thicker stock. This is a 6-inch long blade. The K-bar had a 7-inch long blade. The RH-36 also had a 6-inch blade. But this is the thing that kind of throws people off and perpetuates some of the stories. And that is the way the pommel is designed. Now, this is a thick pommel, okay? See if you can see that. On the Cattaraugus, there are 3 pieces of stacked steel here, held together with nails, actually screwed nails, right? That also go into the handle, and the top is peened, right? So this 70-plus-year-old knife is as tight as a drum. You will commonly see these knives rusted out, and the handle, leather handle washers coming off, and the pommel is still tight as a drum, right? This is an extremely robust design. So, as you can tell, it kind of looks like the face of a hammer, right? So that's where part of the legend comes from. In fact, it is designed to be used as a hammer, okay? Now, when you talk about a thick stock piece of steel for the blade, a robust handle, right? And I have very large hands, and these handles fit me pretty well. And the hammer on the face of the pommel. There were stories during World War II that these knives were used to pry open crates, right? That's what quartermasters do. Quartermasters are supply guys, right? In the Army. Different in the Navy, but in the Army, a quartermaster guy is a supply person. So, supposedly, the knife is designed to open crates and then designed to pound them back closed again, okay? And there are stories from the era that they were used for that. But they were also used for other things, and they were not simply designed for quartermasters exclusively, right? So the quartermaster knives were issued in the millions, okay? The Army Department, the War Department, bought more quartermaster knives. That includes the case knife as well. Then there were quartermasters in the United States military, by a comparison of about 3 to 1, right? So if you issued every single supply person in the military 3 of these knives, you probably would still have some left over. Now, Cattaraugus marketed this knife as the Commando, right? And that's why I'm using this World War II US Army paratrooper jump jacket as a background, right? Because that's what our version of commandos wore. They called it a commando, and I'll put some images here of some of those advertisements. Now, the stories also say that the knives were used. So Cattaraugus, the son of the president of Cattaraugus Cutlery Company in Cattaraugus County, New York, was a quartermaster officer, okay? And one of the stories was that he was able to use the knife to open and close crates, but he was also able to use the knife to crack open coconuts and the skulls of Japanese enemy troops. So all of that, quite frankly, is very believable. So these knives were commonly referred to as quartermasters, and they are exceptionally robust. And at this point in history, they're becoming very, very collectible. This knife with its original sheath, this is a left-hand sheath, right? Very common. Today would probably sell for, $150 up, right, for this knife in the condition that it's in. Mint knives go for an extremely high amount, and that's because they're collectible, right? So the question oftentimes is, you know, what do you value the knife at? Well, that depends on what you want to do with it, right? So in this case, I have two. I have this one for my collection, and I have this one which I use pretty heavily, right? Good piece of gear. We should honor it by using it. So the interesting thing about the sheaths is, you'll notice that the sheaths that came with the 6-inch PAL RH36 are almost identical, but there is a difference. So when you see this knife in this sheath, you'll see how long these leather tabs are, right? In fact, these are really long. So this knife will not fit in a sheath that is made for the RH36 because this leather tab is not long enough to go around the thickness of these handles. So it's interesting. You'll also commonly see them in any other kind of sheath that they could, you know, basically get their hands on, including the 7-inch K-bar sheath, all kinds of homemade doodads. In fact, I carry this one in a nylon sheath that was produced by Eagle Industries a long time ago, which company's been out of business for a while now. But so these knives are so robust and so good that in recent years they've been copied. Now, I should say commemorated, right? But copied is probably a better word. Ontario produced a version of this knife, and I'll put some pictures here. A commemorative version with beautiful handles, brass guard and pommel, just stunningly beautiful. They also produced one of their what do they call, SP, right? The SP17, which is the same blade with a molded rubber handle, and those knives are actually pretty popular. They don't have this style of pommel on them, but they do have this blade. And like I said, very robust, great, a great piece of equipment to carry. And again, I'll put some pictures in here. And then Bark River Knives, which is a custom knife company that makes some absolutely stunningly beautiful pieces of equipment. They also make a Quartermaster. And again, I'll put some pictures here. The Quartermaster knives from Bark River, new, were $400. They're no longer in production, and if you can find one, you're going to pay $500 and up for one. Now, it's stunningly beautiful. It's every bit as robust as these knives. And for my money, you know, if I just had money to waste, I would buy one to have it in the collection. But at the same time, man, that's a lot of money. So I don't think I'm going to spend $500 on a Bark River Quartermaster knife. So I hope that answers some of the questions about the myths that are out there, right? So yes, the knife was designed by the Army Quartermaster Corps. No, the knife was not designed specifically or solely for the Quartermaster Corps. And yes, they were issued in the millions, okay? Like I said, the Cattaraugus company marketed the knife as the Commando. And I'm here to tell you, as a weapon, I think the knife is very, very respectable, right? Again, super thick stock. Now, this is old. US 1095. Takes a razor sharp hair popping edge. Stunningly beautiful. The bark rivers are CV3, I believe. And I'm not entirely certain what the Ontario versions are made of. But Ontario has a tendency to use 1095 and 1075 steel, both of which are high carbon steel and respectable. So thanks for joining me here today. I really appreciate your time and attention. And God bless America. Bye-bye now.